right, thanks, Audra. I appreciate that. And Carter has asked me to fill in for him. He was traveling, was unable to make it today, and we'll have some exciting news here in the coming week, I think, for himself, his family, and for some others. So I appreciate being able to be with you, and maybe there's a few of you on the call. I don't know whether this is a good memory to bring up or not, but we did the marshmallow long drive with the drunk goggles at the golf tournament a few years ago. So I had an opportunity to meet some of you when we did that, and would be nice if we were able to get together, but appreciate you being with us today. First off, I want to say thank you. I know that you guys a lot of times, frankly, don't get the credit you deserve for the stuff that you do day in and day out with kids, and it's so important. And I've had 5 kids who've gone through programs and have very much appreciated what you guys deliver, and the dedication and devotion, and teachers, frankly, and educators don't get the credit I think they deserve a lot of the time for all the things that you deal with continually. And one of the things that we try to do is at least provide something that gives an opportunity for the students to learn in a way that doesn't put them at risk. And so that's why we do our driving safety training the way that we do it, and appreciate those of you who have used it in the past and continue to use it. We have great results, and educators are one of our markets or the teen drivers rather. Our other market is we actually train first responders across the country as well. And it's something that we take very seriously, and we also listen as well. So as we continue to develop our training, one of the things I want to make you aware of is we do take suggestions. We can't always get to all of those, but as a result of those suggestions, as you may realize, a couple of years ago, I think it's a year and a half, 2 years ago, we added a backing exercise. And then last year we added a mental health lesson as well, which was very important. And the other one that we're hearing feedback on is some basic maintenance and car maintenance things that we can put together. So that's another one that we'll probably be working on this summer. So if you have questions, you have suggestions, you're always welcome to submit those. Carter's the main contact. I'm always available as well. And then we have Johnny available for helping, and Brett still works with us. If you remember, most of you probably met or know Brett. He helps with us as well. So anything that you have, just let us know. I'm going to share my screen now, and then Audra, if you just let me know that that's coming through all right, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, it's working perfectly. I know it looks very strange on your end. Everything disappears.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So thank you very much for
you're
that.
Good.
So the whole point of what we do is to provide these teens with experience before they get behind the wheel, and going through some of the lessons and giving them some tools that they can use as they get out on the road. And a lot of you have probably been through this, but we focus on 5 basic courses. It's 4 hours. We've trained, I think just this year, we've trained 14,000 students. I think usually that's closer. By the end of the year, we'll end up about 20 to 22,000 students that train with this program. And the modules, as you can see here, that you'll be familiar with, are the search and scan, the hazard recognition, the sight, speed, and space management. And then again, the judging safe distance, attention, distraction, backing, and then there's also the mental health aspect as well. And one of the reasons why we added that mental health aspect is it can be it's a big factor in driving, as you know. If we're not present in the moment as we're driving and we're someplace else, that's when a lot of problems can happen. And so we worked with some clinical therapists to put together that module and make something available to give the kids, frankly, a tool that they can use when they drive. And we're also hoping that it's a tool that they can use in their life. We're in the business of saving lives, and We do that with driving safety training, and we believe that the mental health aspect of driving was important enough that if we could give them a few tools that maybe would factor in and filter into some of the other aspects of their lives. So that's why we added that module. The course, we're currently undergoing an update with the graphics that will be released for the new school year. Right now, we anticipate that's going to be the August, when we started the semester in August. We will likely get it up for some of the classes in the summer, but I just want you to be aware that August is really the target date for that. But we've been going through and updating all of them and have them complete. We just need to run some testing, make sure that everything's working properly. But you can see some of the graphic differences here on the slide that I've got up on the screen. And so they're much more realistic, but they're still graphics. And one of the things I want you to know, that the reason why we use graphics is we found that we get a better experience with them because we are more in control of the environment. And if we can have them focus on certain things in a graphical environment, it translates better over to the road, a little bit better than if we just put up all real life scenarios where you're actually driving through the road. It's so familiar and it looks so familiar as they've been a passenger in a car that they don't pick up on some of the nuances that we want them to pick up on. So that's why we actually use graphics for almost everything we do. It just allows us to control that better. So it's gotten a very good response. We've actually launched this with a lot of our other clients across the country, and it's being received very well. They like the updated training, they like the updated graphics. So that's coming this fall. The education that we provide here, of course, it's simulation-based learning. They're interactive scenarios, and they're roughly 30 minutes each with quizzing throughout. The way we came up for this training, if you haven't heard the story before, is our technical team actually built the first driving simulators that were widely accepted in this country by first responders. So we created a vehicle called the Patrol Sim that ended up capturing 70% of the market for police officers. And it was something that allowed them to actually sit in the simulator and have the view all around them. And then we developed all the training for that. Well, what we found is a lot of departments were getting this really robust system and then putting it in the corner of their warehouse, and it just started gathering dust. And for a $150,000 investment, that was a little bit rich. So what we ended up doing is we took some of the scenarios and some of the principles that we'd learned from watching first responders go through trainings, and we developed this online course. And the online course carried on some of the same things that we did in the simulators, but we found that it was 85% effective as putting them in a simulator. And so the results we got back were well worth making this available on a wider scale basis without the capital investment. And so that's why we have this as simulation-based learning, where we're actually interacting with the training as opposed to just passively watching it or giving them a list of things that they should be doing. We're turning right or left. Now, obviously, our training does not replace anything that you do from the standpoint of really getting out there and teaching and interacting with the students. But what it does do is it does allow them to interact with it. And so they actually get to make decisions and choices without suffering consequences that fortunately for us as parents, it comes down to you because you're the ones that kind of take it on the chin here, driving around with these kids. My hat's off to you, really. You guys, the patience that you show and that you have is awesome. So thank you as a father for the 5 kids that you've trained in driving skills. I greatly appreciate it. The multitasking exercise, this is just an example of the interactivity that we do. And you're looking at a new graphical interface that we're launching, but we really like to have the students actually engage and experience something. And of course, as you all know, cell phones are one of our biggest problems at this point. And texting, everybody thinks they can text and drive, and And true confession, I have texted while I'm driving, and I had to remind myself to put down my phone. And with the kids and the way that's attached to the end of their arm now, it's pretty hard. So it's a pretty big responsibility. So it's one of the exercises we put in here where we have them, they'll actually click on the hazards that appear before them while they're listening to their text, while they're responding, so that we can show them how difficult it is to actually do that, and the fact that they are going to have an attention problem and it's not going to end well for them. So that's just an example of the multitasking there. This is actually driving through the scenario. So you see they'll actually click on the hazards as they go. And the texts come up, they have to respond to the texts. And again, we've given them a better graphics now, updated graphics, so that they won't think it's a quote game. It's not to make this a game. It's just to make it to be realistic, focused on the things that we would like them to be focused on as we go through the training. The next one, this is just a scenario, a go, no-go scenario. Again, teaching them, having them actually practice some things without being behind the wheel. And in this case, this is where they're picking and deciding, okay, is it safe to go? Is it not safe to go? And then based on their choice, we give them the, you made the right decision or you didn't make the right decision. So again, the focus of this is some of the students that you have won't have a lot of experience.
On this busy street, traffic was approaching at 45 miles per hour. It's a good thing you were.
So that just walks them through the scenario.
Turn safely. Let's move on.
So in some cases where you don't have students that might not have parents that have been working with them at all, or letting you do everything for the student, this at least gives them a little bit of contextual experience before getting on the road. And it's one of the reasons why it's so valuable where they don't have the experience. So where driving really is, it's really through experiential exercises and through real life driving that we gain our ability to drive. And it's also why teenagers are 7 times more likely to get in accidents, because they just don't have the historical context to be able to know how to drive. And so that's what this is basically substituting for, is to give them some context before they get behind the wheel with you. So hopefully you're hitting the brake a little less frequently with people who've gone through our course online. I'll skip this scenario. We saw that. We've also updated, as a lot of you will know, over the past year and a half, we've gone to a new learning management system. This learning management system is housed on AWS. It gives us some more flexibility and greater uptime, where it's just a very solid resource for us. But we set up for all of you schools, and again, those of you who've done this will be familiar with it, but we do a lot of heavy lifting before you start the semester. And the way we do that and why we do that is to allow these students to self-register without having to have you passing on specific information for a particular class. That's valuable because it's going to lump them into and drop them into the class that you want them in for reporting purposes. So in this case, they go through, they select their school district, then they select their school, they can then select their instructor, they can then select their period. So all of that is stuff that we will do for you. We just need to know that ahead of time, and Carter will be reaching out, and Johnny and Brett, to get that information so that we can set you up so that this is seamless. They just drop into the class where they're supposed to drop into. And we found that this system has worked very well over the last year since we've implemented it. And we still have people who call from time to time. The main reason they call, as you probably know, and this is 95% of our support services, the call that they get is, I forgot my password. Happens frequently. And sometimes students will go in and they're embarrassed to call us, I guess. I don't know what the reasoning is, but they don't want to call. So what they'll do is they'll create another account. And so they'll use a slightly different name and they'll sign in again. And so we'll have 2 students in the system and they'll give us a call and say, hey, I finished this exercise. And when we look, we've had as many as 5 times. The student be on 5 times. So we routinely go in and we delete the ones that are duplicates. We run reports to make sure that we clean those out so that we only have them doing, we only have 1 student in the system as opposed to 1 student with 5 different IDs. So that happens quite frequently. And one of the things that would really help for those of you that do use our system is to continue to harp on these students to say, if you forget your password, just call. Don't set up a new account, just call. That helps immensely. So appreciate you thinking about that as you go through with your students. This is just a shot of the usage and the report. So you can go in by the school year. And again, we set these up the first of the semester for you, so you don't need to do that. And we reach out and make sure we have the information that we need from you. But then we'll go through this, show the school year, and then you can come in and you can look at each individual student. Their name is blocked out on this sample report on the left-hand side of the screen. But you can see whether or not they've completed it, where they are through the process, how much time they've spent in it, their average grade. And we've prepared this course to be a 4-hour course. I will tell you, some students will get through it more quickly. Some students will get through it much more slowly. But all the information is there, and it does, on average, take them at least 4 hours or more to complete the training. So that's why we do it as 4 hours. This is very helpful, though, for you as a teacher. You do not have to go and look at this. If you need help, Carter can run reports for you. Johnny can run reports for you. We're always here to make this easy for you so that you get what you need out of the system. That is and I know I covered that very quickly. Carter is available. Here's his email. My email is just the same. It's ted@onqsafety.com, but you are welcome to call. You're welcome to drop us an email. We're happy to answer questions. We're happy to get on a call with you just to answer any specific questions as well, and describe for you in more detail what the course is, how it works, how we make it easy for you as an instructor to use. Just call Carter or drop us an email. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. If you've got are the questions working, the chat, or the questions, Audra?
They are. I have a couple questions because I know it came up last time. When you change from the old link to the new link, will it prompt the student, or how do they need to give a new link out, or how's that going to work for transition?
It's going to work seamlessly. All we do is on the back end, we're replacing one course with another course. So it's all going to work. It'll work seamlessly.
Are you guys looking into doing some kind of password reset so that they don't have to call and bother you?
Well, the issue that we've run into with password reset is the general way that you do that is with an email address, and the state won't let us collect email addresses of minors. And so that's really been, and that's the system we use for all of our other clients. But in this case, we've been told we cannot collect the students' email addresses, or that would be a piece of cake. So at this point, we still will rely on them calling us if they need to do a password reset.
Okay. What is the average time it takes a student to get through the course?
We find that as we look through the analytics on this, the average time is just a little bit over 4 hours, and it's really student dependent. And you, as educators, you know that you'll have some people in your class that get things right away, and it just connects for them for some reason. And for some people, it's math. For other people, it's English. It just depends on the individual student. So we do see some students get through more quickly than 4 hours, but on average, it's just over 4 hours.
Next question. After they get a hold of Carter, is the billing, do you purchase all the license up front, or how does the billing work?
Yeah, typically what we do there, the state of Utah has the funds through the Board of Education with Audra, that there's reimbursement dollars available for that Audra, I'll let you address. But yeah, what we generally do is we collect that upfront for the semester or for the year. And then we track the utilization. If the utilization is close, if it goes over by 5% or so, again, that's not something we do. If it's going over by a lot, we'll basically factor that in for the next year or the renewal. We haven't typically been back billing for overutilization, but we watch that to monitor it for renewals.
Okay, I don't think there was any more questions to you. For those people who don't have the program yet, and if you're interested in it, this is part of the reimbursable programs. This is considered a partial simulator. So this 4-hour class, 4.5-hour class is equal to 1 hour of behind the wheel time. And you can submit, your district can submit for reimbursement. So it's at no cost to your school if you would like to use it. So feel free to reach out to any of Ted's staff and they can help you with it. And Ted is also building our new examiner training course that through his company that will be out here in a couple weeks. So we appreciate working with you guys.
Well, and Audra, we appreciate working with you as well. And we're actually really excited about that program. We think it's going to make it so much more seamless to get that training out. And we've spent quite a bit of time. And I think with the materials you provided, been able to put together something that will be, I'd say, a refreshing change.
Thank you. There was another question that came through. Is there a minimum passing score for each simulator set for 80% or higher, or what was the passing score?
Yes, we have that set for 80%. And the quizzes that we put in there are intended to make sure that the students are paying attention. And I will tell you that sometimes we'll get calls from students and say, this program is really stupid. I can't pass this simulation exercise. And the point of simulation is to, in a lot of instances, have them have to do that more than once. We want them to go through the scenario. We want them to make mistakes, because if they're making mistakes in the simulation, it's something that they're going to remember better when they actually get out on the road. And we've had people talk about that with the simulation. And I've worked with some directors at some big trucking companies that do some of our training. And the comment from him was, I didn't think this was great, but he said, after I went through your training, he goes, it really was, because those exercises come back to mind as you're out on the road, which is what we're trying to accomplish. So we do set it at 80%, and we do on occasion have a student or two out of hundreds that will call us and say, I can't get through this, or I can't do it. And so we will help them in any way that we can to get through that, so that they know how they're going to get through it. And the 80% has proven to be a very good level to have people go over it enough to understand it, but it's not so difficult that they're not going to be able to get through it in a reasonable amount of time.
Thanks, Ted. Another reason why it's 80% is that we try to make everything related to driver's education, because licensing requires 80%. We try to make everything across the board 80%. So they're very aware with all of their permit tests, everything that they do is going to be 80% for driver's education. Some of your school districts have made things 70%, but we would really like them to be across the board everywhere 80%, so that they're not different in different districts. All right, thanks, Ted. It doesn't look like any more questions came in. I appreciate your time today.